evening. We're going to go ahead and call to order the Sharonville City Council meeting. If everyone will please rise, we're going to have a moment of silent prayer, and then Mr. Cunningham is going to lead us in the pledge.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Coulter?
Here.
Mr. Levitt?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mrs. Knight? Here. And Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Thank you. Approval of minutes from March 29th, regular council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, those stand as written and distributed. Reports and communication. We're going to go ahead and bump Chief Nesbitt up to the very beginning. He has a presentation tonight, so Chief, if you'd like to come on up. Well, it's okay. I allow it for special things.
Thank you. This week is National Telecommunicators Week, and I wanted to take an opportunity to share with council and our community how important our dispatchers are with us. Do you ever wonder who that person is behind the emergency call when you place the call to 911? Most of us only know the professional, helping, calming, reassuring voice on the other end. This is why the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week is observed the second week of April every year. We set aside this time to recognize and celebrate our telecommunicators who help us in our communities every day. If not for their calming voice in every situation, help would be delayed at an untold price to our communities. Every call answered brings the unknown, but they are ready to provide direction, instruction, advice, and help finding resources. When the caller is desperate, possibly experiencing the worst imaginable, lives may be at stake. These professionals deliver life-saving guidance and find a way to get necessary details, directing emergency services where they're needed. These brave men and women of the Sharonville Police Department set aside life's many trials and tribulations every day and every night, putting Sharonville first. They come to work no matter the holiday, no matter the weather, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. These men and women pictured in this slide above you are the first point of contact for most of you.
Cindy, how long did you work? 25.
Chief Nesbitt, that was wonderful, and you did a great job. You said you're not very techy, and I think you did a very nice job. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, ladies, very much. Okay, now we'll go to Mayor Hartford.
Thank you, and if you haven't, and if you aren't friends with the Sharonville Police Department, just to follow up on what you heard, they've been doing great little biographical pics of all of these great folks that you see on this slide in front of you that started yesterday. So be sure to take a look at those and continue to thank these great people: Kirk, Ryan, Amy, Cindy, Miranda, Amanda, and Pam. So they do a fantastic job for us, and they really are, as as you heard from the chief, the front line of where people have contact. So thanks to all of them, and look at, maybe you'll learn something new about them as you read those little descriptions every day. It's great to be able to put a face and information about those folks behind what they do. I don't have anything beyond that, so unless anybody has any questions for me.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you. Regarding the legislation this evening, there's three pieces up for a vote. The first item, though, I would like to spend a few seconds on. Ordinance 2022-22 is a zoning code update. It's only a first reading tonight. There will be a presentation on May 10th regarding that. Would urge council and the public in general to spend some time on Sharonville2030.com, which talks about the zoning code update in depth. Also want to thank John Creech. This has been a year-long effort, and he has put in a lot of time with Wendy Moeller from Compass, our consultant, as has a committee of 7 or 8 people, including Councilman Coulter, who was probably at 90% of the meetings throughout the year. It really has been a long effort, and when you hear about the zoning code update on May 10th, it's not going to look like that much effort went into it, but it has. So, Sharonville2030.com. Ordinance 2022-22 deals with item that was in the budget with the community center paver entrance, and Steve Bosom's here tonight to talk about that. Did I say the wrong number?
No, I put the wrong number on here.
Okay.
This ordinance is just authorizing Safe Service Director to enter into a contract for the design of a basically new portion of the entrance to the community center. Slight correction to how it's written here. We don't necessarily intend to go back with new concrete pavers. We're probably hoping to go back with some type of stamped or colored concrete. Anyway, went out for an RFP to 2 different companies, got 1 response. Kleinger's and Associates responded. We believe are happy with what they're doing and have designed for the downtown loop. This will be an opportunity to tie that in with our community center with the same entrance branding type schemes, in my opinion. So this gives the Safety Service Director the authorization to go into contract with Kleinger's, and also it looks like, I believe, bid contract once we come up with the design. The proposal that was put together and received has 3 meetings, including a council meeting, to make sure you guys get your eyes on it. And also, I intend one of those meetings to be a project oversight meeting, so that eyes can get on whatever the proposals are for this space. If you've been up there, the pavers are deteriorating fairly quickly, so something we'd like to move forward with. Questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
And it was an emergency request as well, so ordinance 2022-23E. Resolution 2022-R08E deals with a concurrent resolution at the state, currently dealing with Amtrak. Last year's infrastructure bill, Congress put in $66 billion worth of money, in part for passenger rail upgrades throughout the country. Amtrak has a pretty aggressive plan in place, including one impacting Sharonville, the 3 C&D, Cincinnati, Sharonville, Dayton, Columbus, and Cleveland. Been talking with the government affairs person in Chicago with Amtrak. The first hurdle is getting Ohio on board with this effort, and to date, Ohio is not on board with seeking funds for the Amtrak improvements. So since that session, I learned that this concurrent resolution was out there. This would support that effort. Jessica Miranda was a co-sponsor on that bill because she understands the importance this has on to Sharonville. So, any questions?
No.
And then resolution 2022 R09E. Casey's going to talk
So this has to do with the liquor permit renewals when Mrs. Buhite sent out that it was that time of year again. Mrs. Hoppy inquired as to whether or not this impacted the Code 51 appeal that's still pending. And Mrs. Buhite made some calls, I sent some emails, and we frankly have not been able to get a straight answer from the Liquor Commission. So we thought better safe than sorry to put it to council, and presuming council still wants to object to that liquor permit renewal, since the prior objection is still pending, having been appealed by Code 51. That's why it's before you again tonight. Anybody have any questions?
Questions on that? No.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Any questions for you? Mr. Lucas, other than? Okay. For my report tonight, I was going to have Chief Nesbitt, but that's okay. I moved him because a very good friend of mine is here. And I'm going to ask Stacy to come up and speak. Yeah. You can share with us your exciting news and what you're planning and running and doing.
Yes, thank you for moving me up. I'm so happy to be here today. I'm Stacy DeGraffenreid, and I know a lot of you. I went to Princeton High School. Oh, do I have to say my address?
No, you're fine.
But I went to Princeton High School, actually with Kevin, and so I'm dating him, or maybe he's dating me, I don't know, but I'm trying to pull myself down, I think. So. But anyway, I went to Princeton High School, and and I'm running for juvenile court judge here in Hamilton County. I believe this is a very important position, and I'm very excited for the opportunity to run. I think that, as we've seen in the news lately, the juveniles are really out of control, and we need to figure out a way to stop them. Not to say that we're going to send all juveniles away, or we have to do anything like that, but we need to figure out a way to change what's going on now. I currently work at the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office, where I'm the chief of the juvenile division, a job that Kevin also has held. And so he knows some of the ins and outs and some of the goods and the bads about that job, but it can be a tough job. And you're trying to make difference, and you're trying to make changes, but if you keep running against judges who aren't listening, or judges who aren't willing to make a change, or to actually maybe send a child who may need to go to Department of Youth Services, or to go into services here like Hillcrest that's in Wyoming. So I believe that I'm a good person for this job. I've been at the prosecutor's office now for 17 years. Prior to that, I worked at the public defender's office, so I think I'm a good mix of both. I've seen both sides, as well as my husband and John Simons and I both run businesses here in town. And so we're really involved in the community, and I get to get out in the community, see the children. We coach basketball, I coach soccer. So I just think I'll be a good mix to be the next Hamilton County judge, and I'm hoping to have your support.
Great. Thank
All right.
you so much.
Thank you so much for moving me up. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
not a problem.
Thank you.
And that is all for my report, unless anyone has any questions for me. I do want to remind everybody, with this being April, June and July are only one meetings each, so make sure you look at your calendars and plan appropriately. We'll move on to our clerk of council, Ms. Buhite.
Thanks. Just announcing the public hearing that was set for May 10th at 7 p.m. in these council chambers on those proposed amendments of the planning and zoning codes.
Perfect.
May
Thank
10th.
Law Director, Mr. Lippert.
Other than the legislation, no report. Thank you.
Thank you. Now is an opportunity if residents want to be heard this evening. You're good? All right. Council committees, community development, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, we have meetings of the Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning Commission tomorrow night, 6:30 and 7 o'clock. Mr. Creech sent out agendas for both of those meetings,
Okay.
so it should be on file.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Community services, Mr. Lovett?
Yes, thank you. Just got a couple things here I want to just kind of put out there. Just touching on base with the GVA. The roofing of the GVA is about to be started. Obviously, there's a few logistical things with one of the buildings. It's about half right now. But they're going to hold off on that building, but they're going to do the rest of the buildings. Also, most of you know, Houck Road is currently closed for 90 days again. Most of you are aware of that just from emails and everything going on. Just be aware, you know, if anybody has questions, you know, just, you understand, it's just 90 days. It's a pause for a while. Also, fields are up and running, soccer's going, we got T-ball starting in Gower, and I did want to point out that if anybody has any ideas of anybody to contact about swim coaches, we currently still do not have a swim coach for the Sharonville Sharks. So that's a little concerning. It's getting a little concerning. We're getting a little close to the beginning of the season, and we don't have anybody to fill that spot. So anybody with any ideas, college students that may want to do it, you know, just teachers, anybody that may have the opening in their schedules in the summer would be a great fit. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Budget and Finance, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. No report. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 10th at 6 p.m. And then for project oversight, no report tonight. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Honored citizens, Mrs. Knight.
Yes, tonight I am also going to honor the Sharonville Police Dispatchers. These are the ones that get our citizens to the right place. I mean, before I was on council, I'd call and they were so helpful. Cindy left, but I just wanted to honor her after 26 years with Sharonville Police Department. Working with Cindy has been such a joy. She's helped me when they did the golf outing, Shop with a Cop. She was a big part of that. And I also worked with her at the Sharonville VFW. Again, the city will miss a great dispatcher and a great person, and thankful she still lives in Sharonville. So we will see her around. So thank you.
Law and Public Safety, Mr. Schmidt.
Yes, the next meeting of the Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be on the 12th, it's 12th, at 4 p.m. Administrative Conference Room.
Is it the
Wait, let me check.
19th? Today's the 12th.
19th.
Yep. The
19th Administrative Conference Room, 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, rule suspension motion for first and only reading, ordinance 2022-23E and resolution 2022-R08E and 2022-R09E with immediate effectivity. Is there a motion? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Cook. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, yes? Those opposed, no, and that does carry. We have no unfinished business, so we'll go right into new business, please.
Just a first reading of ordinance 2022-22, amending Part 11 of the Sharonville Codified Ordinances, commonly known as the Planning and Zoning Code. This is a first and only reading of emergency ordinance 2022-23E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for design of new concrete pavers at the Sharonville Community Center and contracts for the demolition of existing pavers and construction of new pavers and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-23E? So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley? Yes. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2022-23E has been approved.
Perfect.
First and only reading of emergency resolution 2022-R08E, encouraging the adoption of House Concurrent Resolution Number 42, referred to the State of Ohio's Transportation and Public Safety Committee, expressing support for the Amtrak Connects Us plan and urging Congress to facilitate and fund the plan and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass resolution 2022-R08E? So moved by Mr. Coulter, second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency Resolution 2022-R08E has been approved. First and only reading of Emergency Resolution 2022-R09E, recommending termination of liquor permit owned by Elizabeth Ilog Bunham and operating Class Entertainment, Inc., DBA Cove 51 Nightclub, requesting a hearing and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass Resolution 2022 R09E? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Coulter.
Yes.
Mr. Lovett.
Yes.
Mr. Cook.
Yes.
Mrs. Knight.
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Emergency Resolution 2022 R09E has been approved.
Perfect. Are there any other matters that wish to be heard this evening? Just a quick reminder, our next meeting is supposed to be the Sharonville Student Government Day. Anyone available on the 26th to run around Sharonville with me all day would be greatly appreciated. Breakfast is at 8 a.m. Lunch will be around 12:30ish over at the firehouse if you want to join. We're still looking for students, high school kids that live in Sharonville. We keep sending out invitations. I think a lot of the seniors don't want to leave their last week of school. So they're having a hard time with that. So if you know of any sophomores, juniors, or seniors that would like to participate, they just need to get a hold of me. Ms. Knight.
I'm putting a shout out to any Sharonville citizen that's 55 or older. I am now the president of the senior citizens of Sharonville. We have a great time. You don't have to be, I say seniors, but everybody feels so young there. I mean, we have May 1st, we're celebrating Betty Smith. She'll be 90. We're having a big party for her. So I just encourage everyone, if they're sitting at home on Monday morning and they really want to get out and do something, 10 o'clock, the rec center, we even have the doors open on Thornview, so you don't have to walk all through the building. But we have a quick meeting, about 15, 20 minutes, then we adjourn to bingo, cards, walking, exercising, and then 11:30, a lunch is provided. So I put a shout out to all senior citizens and Sharonvillians that have nothing to do on Monday morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lovett.
Sorry, I'm talking again. I did want to add to the Houck Road closure, I meant to say this, that speaking with Mr. Bosom, they are supposed to leave access for police and fire down that entire street to the train tracks the entire time under construction, correct? Yes, okay. So I just want to make that clear, so if anybody gets emails, stuff like that, there should be accessibility, police and fire down Houck Road the whole time.
Perfect. Mr. Schmidt.
Yes, just a note, Duke, a contractor for Duke will be trimming the trees in the right-of-way. So we got notices, door hangers were passed around in our area.
Oh, okay.
So everyone knows and is aware of that.
Okay, perfect. Anyone else?
So some of you may not be aware of this, or as you're new to council, but there is this organization called the Hamilton County Municipal League, which represents all of the villages, cities here in Hamilton County, of which I am the president, and if anybody else wants to become president, let me know. But it is a great group, and they advocate on our behalf for many issues that are there. So their general membership meeting is Monday, April 18th. It's going to be at the Deer Park Branch Library. They serve dinner. You all should have received email invitations to it and every meeting, general membership meeting. So if you are interested, we invite you to come. This week's speaker, or next week's speaker, is going to be Kent Scarrett, who is the executive director of the Ohio Municipal League. So he's going to have a good grasp on the things they are lobbying our legislatures for on behalf of us as a city. And then the City of Cincinnati Mayor Aftab Puraval will also be saying a few words as well as he introduces himself to the group. So again, that's next Monday. If you're going to go, look for your email and at least RSVP, so they know how much food to add to the list. But it's a good way to get to know other folks that serve their communities around Hamilton County, and it's a good place to know what's going on in our state legislature.
Anybody else? Mr. Wilson.
Yes, just a couple of things. My knee surgery is next Thursday, the 21st, and I have no idea what that means for how long I'll be out of commission. But
And Mr. Coulter has graciously volunteered to stand in for you whenever you need him to.
he has been very, very kind with that. Yes, I am planning on making tomorrow night's meeting, so
Okay, perfect.
until I get the operation. After that, I don't know anything. It's fair game, I guess. The other thing I would just came to mind is, as we're looking for swim coaches, we got a couple of, I think if I'm, don't let me say this wrong, Sue, but I think we have a couple of NCAA champions that were in the Sharks. Is that right, or am I wrong on that?
You are correct, and we have reached out to them, and Callan Roddy, who goes to Penn,
Hopkins.
or John Hopkins, he's staying there to, they haven't been able to swim together since the COVID, but he's staying, and then Adam Cheney is also staying at Florida, so anybody.
Yeah, I was thinking more in the
Thank
lines
you.
of perhaps a PA, some kind of public, a plea from those two guys and just tell them what their time meant. And so as we're recruiting, we're not just recruiting coaches here, we're recruiting the guys that are going to be training our Olympic athletes and NCAA champions. So.
What's Kathy's availability, Jim?
I'll give that suggestion to Amy Sharpshire, but just to add a note to Glenn's, it is a paid position, it's not volunteered, so there is some cash involved for those kids out there that thought maybe it was just volunteer.
Yes.
And then also, I just wanted to commend Chief Nesbitt tonight. There's a lot of folks that I watch recognize people through the years, and some people just do it better than others. You gave a genuine thank you tonight. It was evident to everyone. Great job. And so maybe you ought to give lessons to more people, but that was a great way to recognize someone.
Did you get a ticket?
By the way, I am going to have to talk to you about getting a handicap sticker too. So.
Okay. Is that it? I do want to thank everyone for their participation and support last Saturday of the Sharonville Kiwanis. They had a wonderful turnout, and thank you. I loved seeing Mayor Hardman and Glenn Lovett's picture and the remake of the picture. You guys only changed a little. Just a little. So, but thank you all for your support. They truly, truly appreciated it. So thank you. And with that, is there a motion for adjournment? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Wilson. All those in favor, yes? Yes. Those opposed, no, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.